Hey y'all, um, Walter here. I was sitting in line to pick up my daughter at school, so I figured that I would make a video of something I've been thinking about. Um, there's, there's a lot of men in the Bible that you look at and you think about, what really made these men men. And some of them, you know, they all had different traits. Um, there's one guy in the Bible that wrote some books that I always thought of as being really bold and strong and very courageous. Um, and that's what I always thought about him. Um, but here recently, I was reading through one of his books, um, and something came across to me that I was reading, and it really shocked me. It really took me by surprise, and it really spoke to me. It made me think about a lot of stuff. This guy is Paul, so I know y'all know who he is, and y'all probably think the same thing about how brave he was and courageous. I mean, he stood in front of people bold, and preached the word, and told about Jesus, even when these people were going to kill him, and he was actually going to go into a riot until some people stopped him. I mean, that's how bold he was. But one verse that I was wanting to look at was in Romans. This is out of the ESV, but the first one I saw it in was my Bible at home, which is um, the NLT. But it's Romans chapter 1, verse 12. In the ESV, he says, because he's talking about wanting to go to Rome and stuff like that. But right in this verse, it says, "For I long to see you." Well, this is starting in verse 11, sorry. "For I long to see you, that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to strengthen you. That is, that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine." And in the NLT that I usually read, he said that so I can encourage you, but also be encouraged by your faith. And to me, it really shows a part of Paul that I never saw before, and it made me see him from a different perspective. Yes, I still see him as bold and strong, but also right there it shows me that he's humble, or that he was humble, because he could, he saw Jesus, and he was, he knew a lot of stuff, and it could be like, I'm here to save the day, or I'm in here to teach you about everything I know and all this kind of stuff. But right there, he's talking about, him being encouraged by them at the same time. Like they both kind of encourage each other. And it just really shows how down to earth he really was. And there's a lot of stuff like that in the Bible, because I started looking up some stuff about being humble. And I never really thought of, being humble as one of the traits, of, of a real man. Um, but like there's some stuff in Proverbs about being humble. And in Numbers 12, it says that Moses was more humble than anyone. And, he actually spoke to God, and God spoke to him. And he really used Moses. And that shows how humble he was. And in Deuteronomy, God humbled Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. I mean, they went around that whole wilderness for 40 years and they were being humbled, you know. Then in 2 Samuel, David took a census. If you know this story, you know what I'm talking about. And then that was a sin against God because that was one of the laws. So God sent a plague that killed 70,000 people. And then right before the angel was about to kill some more, God told him to hold on. And David saw the angel about to do it. And it says David humbled himself to God. David humbled himself to God by asking for forgiveness and say, um, if I remember right, I'm sorry, I haven't looked up that verse right now. I don't have it on me, but I did look it up at the time. But if I remember right, he said, God put this on me and all this. And, God stopped it because David humbled himself. He's like, I'm the one that did this wrong, nobody else. And, sometimes it's real humbling whenever you say, I'm wrong. It's hard to say you're wrong. And in Psalm, David humbled himself to God after sinning with Bathsheba. And Hosea says, the paths of the Lord are true and right, and righteous people live by walking in them. But in those paths, sinners stumble and fall. So, like righteous people, humble people, if you humble yourself before God and you keep doing right, God's gonna, keep you. But if you're proud and you keep sinning and all this kind of stuff, you're just gonna keep, stumbling and falling and all that stuff. And in Matthew 5:5, God blesses the humble. In John 13:1-7, Jesus washes the feet of his disciples. Jesus, he was humble. He humbled, he showed humility right there by washing the feet of his disciples when he was the one that was the Messiah. And it was kind of teaching them to do the same thing. And in Romans 12:3, it says, Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourself. And because you could really mess up if you're not honest with yourself. Because you can, if you say, oh man, I can't do this, something I can't do, then, give it to somebody else, they can do it. That'll keep you from screwing up. Because if you screw up, there's plenty of times. One thing that's humbling is if you say, talking about how good you are, and if you act like you know everything, and then if you're working on something and you're talking about, you know it better than everybody, and you're really good at it, but then all of a sudden you screw up doing what you're working on, that'll humble you fast. Now, I'm not going to say how I know that. It might be from experience, I don't know, but anyways, a lot of people that are humble were humbled at one point by going through a lot of stuff, or they have stumbled a lot. I know God has humbled me a lot. I'm not always humble. You can ask my wife, she'll tell you, but it's kind of like, in the Bible, I can't remember where it's at because I thought about this, but it says you got to die to yourself every day to God, which is basically humbling yourself before God. Say, hey, I'm a sinner. I messed up. I can't do this without you, God. Me, myself, I've had to start doing that here lately. Say, God, with my strength, I cannot do this. You know, I'm starting to know my own strengths and my weaknesses and be honest about it. Say, God, without you, I can't do this. Without you, I can't conquer, you know, this sin, these addictions, or whatever whatever it is. You know, God got me off of, you know, alcohol and drugs and cigarettes. You know, I finally said, you know, God, I can't do this by myself. You're going to have to help me. And God helped me. And He's helped me conquer a lot of stuff. He still helped me conquer stuff and get better. But anyways, I hope that helped somebody. I'm hoping it makes sense to you. Like I said, it really opened my eyes with, you know, seeing Paul as, you know, as humble. But anyways, y'all have a good day.